When was Jesus really born? Every December 25th, we celebrate Christmas as if that were the day Jesus was born, but the truth is, no gospel mentions that date. So why do we celebrate it then? And more importantly, when was Jesus really born? The Bible gives us 7 clues that reveal the truth. 1. The census of Caesar Augustus. Luke tells us that Joseph and Mary traveled to Bethlehem because of a census, but in Judea, December is cold and rainy, and organizing a census under those conditions would have been inefficient. It most likely happened in the spring or fall, when the weather was more favorable. Also, this event wasn't random. More than 700 years earlier, the prophet Micah had announced that the Messiah would be born in Bethlehem. The census was a means to fulfill that prophecy. God used the movements of the empire to carry out his plan. 2. Zechariah, father of John the Baptist. Zechariah, father of John, served in the temple during the division of Abijah, which fell in May or June. Shortly after, his wife Elizabeth became pregnant. 6 months later, the angel announced to Mary that she would give birth to the Messiah. This places Jesus' conception in December and his birth 9 months later, between September and October. That timing aligns with the next clue. 3. The Feast of Tabernacles. Sukkot, or the Feast of Tabernacles, is celebrated in September/October and commemorates how God dwelled among his people in the wilderness. John 1 verse 14 says, "The Word became flesh and dwelt among us." In Greek, dwelt can be translated as tabernacled. What better time for God to come dwell among us than during this feast? This connects Jesus' birth to a celebration of divine presence. 4. The shepherds in the fields. Luke tells us that the night Jesus was born, shepherds were in the fields watching over their flocks. But in December, that's highly unlikely. Cold and rain forced shepherds to seek shelter. Instead, in spring, summer, or fall, the nights were milder and shepherds commonly stayed out in the fields. This small detail rules out December as a likely date. 5. The Star of Bethlehem. The wise men followed a star that appeared in the sky. Some believe it was a planetary conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn, which occurred in 7 BC. Others speak of a nova or a supernatural event. Either way, this heavenly sign also points to the period between 6 and 5 BC, reinforcing the timeline. 6. The Massacre of the Innocents. When Herod heard of the birth of the King of the Jews, he ordered all children under 2 years old to be killed. We know Herod died in 4 BC, so Jesus must have been born before that, probably between 6 and 5 BC. 7. The beginning of Jesus' ministry. Luke 3 says Jesus was about 30 years old when he began his ministry, during the 15th year of the reign of Tiberius Caesar, which was around AD 28 or 29. Doing the math places his birth again between 6 and 4 BC, aligning with Herod's death and the previous clues. So why December 25th? The date doesn't come from the Bible, but from later decisions. In the 4th century, the Church adopted December 25th to replace pagan winter solstice festivals, like the Feast of Sol Invictus. Another theory says that if Jesus was conceived on March 25th, a date some associated with his crucifixion, he would have been born 9 months later, on December 25th. But all of this is symbolic, not historical. What do we really celebrate at Christmas? The key question isn't when Jesus was born, but what we celebrate. And it's not simply the birth of a baby, but the incarnation, the moment when God became man. That's the true miracle, that the creator of the universe stepped into human history to give us eternal life. The month doesn't matter. What matters is that he came. According to the 7 biblical and historical clues, Jesus was born between September and October 5 BC, not on December 25th. But what truly matters is that he was born, and that changed history forever.